Alrighty, I'm back at my bunker. Cooled off, got home, had some dinner. I figured I'd start out this video with this segment here, and then I'll go back into my regular intro, because I'm sure people don't want to wait till the end of my video to see about what I had the problems with the Stay Brite. So I'm going to put a segment in here right now about me soldering that Stay Brite using the Stay Brite solder. So here it is right here. This is when I was soldering. Okay, now we're going to use this new solder. Here we go. Interesting. Well, we'll go back to the old stuff. Hello everybody, here we are in the soldering experience. I went to solder this before and I'm going to show it to you, but the solder ran off it in little beads. That new solder I bought, it ran off it in little beads. It wouldn't even go into the weld like it's supposed to. Okay, you can see I was done soldering and the solder wouldn't stick. It's like if you're soldering a water line and you have some water in the line and you run your solder into that line and it just drips off. Now, what I was trying to solder was this, which is a service valve. And I went back and started watching some of these other Stay Brite videos, and what I came with the conclusion, and they said it, this is new installs with new bright copper, from brand new copper, not some older copper that's been soldered on, but brand new copper. And it works for him, it really does. Brand new copper into a brand new service valve that has not had any kind of contamination from soldering. So I think Stay Brite works on new piping, new copper, and new service valves, or something new to new. It has to be new. It sticks. I think there's something after you solder on something. The one joint I pulled out of here I pulled it out. It's been soldered before. I cleaned it up as shiny as I could get it, and it wouldn't stick. I'm thinking there's something that happens when we solder with heat, changes maybe something molecular in the copper, or something that contaminates it, and Stay Brite has to have squeaky clean copper to stick to. That's the only thing I can come up with. So just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean it won't work for you, but it has, to me, I found out that it has to be super clean. What I wanted to get the Stay Brite for is so I wouldn't have to heat up these valves, because I replaced a few of these valves, go bad. Usually they shoot bubbles out the top. This one, for whatever reason, I couldn't find anything wrong with it, but we found out by pressure checking there's something leaking in it. I couldn't find it with bubbles. And of course, when I went to use my sniffer wasn't working quite right, and that didn't help. So the reason, like I said, the reason I bought this is so I could sweat this on with not using a lot of heat, and to try it out and see if it worked. Well, it didn't. I kept thinking, well, if somebody were to put in, because this is if they had to replace the valve, the heat pump, the switching valve in there. If they ever had to replace that, that's 4 things you have to solder, and you have to be really careful that you don't ruin the inside of that service valve, or the valve, switching valve from the AC to the heat pump. I can't think of it right now. I can't think of it right now. But you have to sweat that in. And I thought that Stay Brite would be just the perfect stuff because you wouldn't have to heat on it as much. But for my application, it didn't work. So anybody out there has used Stay Brite on used copper, I would like to know how it worked for you. Didn't work for me, but maybe it might have worked for somebody else. I don't know. That little piece that I soldered at the very top when I had the condenser out there, that one side of that copper line, I had that thing just shiny, and that was a brand new fitting. I had put those two, to put the 2 3/8 ends onto that coupler to sweat it, and I put the heat on it. You can see it change different colors from the flux. It burned all the flux off it, and I went to solder it, and I thought it was soldered, and I was moving something around, and that thing just popped out. So it didn't even stick. And the other side stuck a little bit, but not very much. And that was the dirty side. The one side was cleaner than the other side. So I don't know. So on that, I'm going to go back to my entrance, so you don't have to go wading through this thing to find out the spot. I don't know. Just leave your comments below if you used the Stay Brite before on used copper fittings and soldered a connection together and it worked. I'd like to know. Alright, starting the show now. See ya. Hello everybody, this is Rick from Get Her Done, and I've got a project coming up that I want to show you part of what I think the problem is on the AC that I'm working on. Well, I'm tearing this AC apart. That's the condenser. This is the inner parts of it. But here's the problem. I'm trying to figure out whether I've got a leak here on this side on it, the suction side, or I got a leak on the high side condenser. I got a leak somewhere. So what I'm going to do is solder the condenser, and I'll show you once we get to work. But here's what I'm kind of thinking. See all that dirt along the edge? All that junk there? And you can see it there, kind of dirt that's falling down. And there could be little rocks in there. This pipe, that's the high side. This little pipe right here runs this coil, and it goes back and forth all the way through here. But it's not very far from the bottom. And once you get to the top, it's not very far from the top either. It's right up there. So I'm thinking when we move this deal, somehow there was a rock that maybe was down in there that maybe pushed up and popped a hole through one of these pipes. Something to that effect. So that's what I plan to do tomorrow, and I'll talk more about it once we get there. Is I'm going to separate the low side to the high side, and I'm going to pressure check the condenser to see if it's leaking. I think it's the condenser that's leaking. I was trying to find the leak, and I can't seem to find it. So we're going to do a little experiment tomorrow, and I'll take you along with me and see if my hypothesis is correct. Hypothesis, big word. Don't ask me to spell it. Alright, I'll see you tomorrow in the shop. Bye. Hello everybody, here we are in my shop at work, and this is the AC that we're going to be working on, or I am going to be, well, no, since you're coming along with me, we will be working on this. Typical AC, got high and low side down there, all your controls, but here's the deal. Now I soldered this in last year, so I soldered that joint right there, and I soldered this joint here. And then I soldered these two little pieces of pipe. I soldered the ends so that I could pressure check this. Well, it's leaking, and I can't find it. Like I said, I think it may be the condenser. So, if I cut this line here and solder on a tube, and then I'm going to have to solder the end like this. It's going to solder another end like that. I will be able to pressure check the suction side. It'll go through the compressor and come out over here, but we're just going to have to see about if it's on here or here. So that's where we're at there. All right. There we go. Alright, that should do it. Turn it sideways a little bit. We're going to run it up to about 200. Right down 200. And the time is, let's see what time it is. 12:03. So here we are, 12:03, and we'll come back in a while and see if I lose anything for pressure. All right, I'll be back. All right, we're back on the AC. Didn't hold the charge. Leaked down, so I took it apart. There's the suction side. The high side here is capped off. The low side's there. We got the H10 all plugged in. I messed with it the other day, finally got the thing to work. I'll tell you about that later. I don't have a light bulb in here, but there's the casing from the outside. Here's the coil. Needs very good cleaning. And look at all the grass and stuff that's up along the bottom. I swept up a bunch of it, but just got it out of the way for now. Take you with me here, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to I have some R22 I took out of that unit that was in my garage. I recovered that before they replaced it. I just drained all what was left in here. I think there was like 100 psi in there, and I'm going to put R22 in it because the sniffer down here, that's the H10, loves R22. It's a while for everything to warm up though. So I'm going to run it along all these lines and see if I can't find a leak. It's got to be here somewhere. Got to be here somewhere. Hello everybody. Well, I had to leave the shop for a while and just go sit outside for about 15 minutes. Just walk away from it for a while. So I went back in, put it on manual, reset it, went back at it again, seeing if I could find that leak. Couldn't find it. Went after it again with some more soap. Still couldn't find the leak. You know, if I was back home, you know, Scott with, you know, Pusateri Heating and Cooling back in Dubuque, Iowa, you need to call him if you got problems. We'd probably be able to fix it together. You know, 4 eyes, 4 hands, 2 brains. He's a lot smarter than I am about air conditioning. He probably has a better sniffer. Those H10s are great sniffers when they're working perfectly. But they are so fickle. I mean, the one I used to have I bought from my friend Brent, that thing was good. But it was older, and I just sold it like a year ago. Or I would have had that one there instead of the newer one. But they're so touchy. And like you see, it would chirp for a little bit, like I had something there, and then I'd go check something else, and I would slowly come back and go around where it chirped before, wouldn't chirp again. And then it was chirping some other place. So every once in a while that thing just gets a hair up its butt and starts chirping away like you've got a leak, and it's not a leak. So, I don't know. They say the H10s are great. Now that old used one that I had that I sold, that one you could turn on, and I could put that thing on manual and adjust it just a little bit because you have to heat up the sensor. Adjust that thing a little bit and she'd be like beep, 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 and you would get close to a freon leak and it beep, 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 and you take it away and hold it off to one side, it'd go back down to beep, 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 and then you take it to where you heard that thing beep, 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 beep. You know, I found a lot of service valves with that, leaks around solder joints that went bad on the high side, on the suction, the suction filter, or on the high side filter. I had leaks on those. I had a leak actually on a filter. It popped a hole through the filter. It rusted so bad on the top side over the years. And it, you know, it's phenomenal, but again, phenomenal is great when it works. And that one, just for whatever it's worth, didn't work. You know, 2.5 ton. And I put a compressor in it last year and everything was fine. I put a compressor in it and I ran it up to like 150 psi. I went out and did stuff. I actually came back the next day. It was still on there and it was still 150 psi. I'm like, oh, great. And I've done that when I did other ones too. Leave it in our shop that we had there. And if I needed my gauges, I knew where they were at. I wasn't going anywhere that I didn't know where my gauges are at. So I was just like, and then I moved it, and when I went to use it this year, it was just, there was no nitrogen in it at all. It was completely empty. So I was like, God. So sometimes you can't find it. You know, it's crazy. Now that would be more crazy if that's on a unit that, heck, that thing would have been leaking. You know, if you're leaking that much, you might have thought it might have been the indoor coil, because a lot of times indoor coils go bad. Probably more so the indoor coils, you know, 10 to 15 life expectancy on an indoor coil. If you're getting past 10 years, you're kind of pushing it. Especially the older ones, maybe the newer ones with the plastic pans last a little bit better, but the older ones with those steel pans, they would rot out after about 10 years, and you'd end up changing it out, or you'd have a leak in your indoor coil. But can't win them all, and I thought I could get this one fixed, but not. So I tried my best. I'm going to probably go post this tonight, and that's it. I wish I could have fixed it. Hello everybody, and I'm back. You're going to see the front part of this video, and then this is kind of going to go on the back end of it. I had this AC that, to make it short, AC that I put a compressor in last year that went out soldered it up at the shop, tested it for a couple days, held 150 psi, took it from out where I fixed it, put it here in the shop. Went to use it this year, hooked my gauges on it just to double check like I always do. Nothing in it. And then the fun begins. I had to stop this because I was utterly pissed off at this whole thing that I couldn't find this leak. So I was talking to my boss the other day. She said, fix it or get rid of it. Or talk to the other guy that does our installs around here. I don't install ACs anymore. Just too much. So, I was watching something. And the guy was fixing something. And it was something he didn't think of that was bad. He tested it, the part on the car. It was good. It tested out perfect. But when he replaced it, everything worked fine. And he says, never dismiss the obvious, or something that you think is good, it may not be good. So on this service valve, I put all kinds of soap all over it. I tried to use our H10 and I couldn't get that thing to work right. So I came in here yesterday, 7 o'clock, and soldered in a T in this line. Right there. There's the T that I soldered in. Last night it had 200 psi in it, and today it still has 200 psi. That, the service valve, is the problem. I put so much soap on that thing, I just don't know. So something on there was leaking, whether it was the where you turn it off and on down that hole, whether it was this old solder joint, maybe it was my new solder joint here in the end. I don't know. But I tore this thing all apart trying to find out where that leak was. So now I'm going to take it all back apart again. So I ordered the service valve. I ordered some of that Stay Brite 8. It's a new type of solder. It's a low heat solder. Problem with these valves, or the valve they just start to leak sometimes. Anyhow, skipping forward, after all the crap that I went through, I'm going to have to put this all back together. So since I've got the coil out, I'm going to take the coil, since I have it disconnected, I'm going to take the coil outside and give it a good washing. It was a little bit dirty, and I could see that it was dirty, so I'm going to go it outside and wash it before I put it all back together. So, shit. And I'm wearing my Pusateri Plumbing and Heating, my nephew's place back in Dubuque. You need some AC work done, call Scott. Alright, so I'll be doing another video on soldering some of that stuff together, and with that new solder, and I'm moving forward now. Let's get to washing. So I got the condenser outside. You can see it's dirty there. It's dirty there. This one is pretty. This side was really plugged. Look at that. That's really plugged. And this side, very dirty. That's why I washed those out. I went around behind that one the row of buildings we have. We have 3 buildings. Those get the dirtiest on all the property. That's what I'm doing today, is washing out units. I have to dedicate a couple days to doing that. We have 32 up here. Probably have another 15 to 20 down there. I don't know, I never counted them all up. I will. and I need to wash those out. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'll take you along with me. You can watch me wash out the AC. Hopefully I don't get my camera wet. Oh, twist it up, of course. Alright. Wash it out. Alright. Now you get to see all the carnage. Usually when you wash your AC out, you wash it from the outside. It's better to wash it from the inside, but then you'd end up having to take the fan off and everything. Which, look at all this junk. All that came out of there. Well, and the guys cut the grass, the lawnmower guys, the commercial guys, they'll blow the grass right into the AC unit, which is not good, because if they pick up a rock, and I've repaired a few, they blow a rock through it. You should always wash your AC out about every 2 months. There's what it looks like when there's no condenser coil around it. That's your compressor. So that's the raw form, and it'll be easier when I take this thing off to solder this when I take all this off. So, alright, cool. Alright, we're going to take this one off. It's the old service valve. There we go. Oh. Look. Okay, now we're going to use this new solder. Here we go. Interesting. Well, we'll go back to the old stuff. Now why this isn't working here. Alright, now we're going to have to change things up a bit. Hello everybody, here we are in the soldering experience. I went to solder this before, and I'm going to show it to you, but the solder ran off it in little beads. That new solder I bought, it ran off it in little beads. It wouldn't even go into the weld like it's supposed to. So I went and used the 15% rod like I used to use years ago, and I soldered up that joint, pressure checked it, everything turned out okay. So I have to solder up this. So I'm going to try this Stay Brite again. It's supposed to work. I put a little flux. Both those are very clean. Both those are very clean where that union is here. Right there. And I'm going to solder that. I'm going to try to use this new type of solder flux in that. See if it works. Okay, we'll be back as soon as I'm all set up. Alright, there's that solder joint. Light up my torch and get it set. See what happens. supposed to put up a lot. I have to put a lot of heat on here to get this thing to work, but let's see. Give you some time for that flux to evaporate. What you're supposed to do with the other one. Just rub it in like that. That's it. Not the prettiest looking weld. We can hit it with this wet. Okay. Well, you look at that. As that's getting ready to hook up the nitrogen here, it's getting ready to hook up the nitrogen here to pressure check it, and the thing just popped out. Look at that. So that stuff it's not working. This Stay Brite 8, I don't know. Maybe it only works on brand new stuff. Doesn't penetrate. Doesn't get in there like it's supposed to. Just drips out. So, old school, I guess. We're gonna let that cool down. Shut this off for now. All right, here we are. We put this pressure on Tuesday, and here it is Friday. And take my word for it here. It's still at 225 and a little bit, so around 230. So it's still holding pressure from Tuesday, and today's Friday. I was going to finish putting this thing together, but man, I'm tired. I end up doing all kinds of stuff today. So I'm going to probably finish this up at home this weekend, and maybe I'll get it posted. So everything's good here. I just have to put the outer case that goes around this coil. That's like a steel little grate around it that has fins in it. And then put the electrical back on the gap here. And put it back together, put the top on it, put a label on it. And, oh yeah, I still have to blow out this high side a little bit. But I'll do that when I get back and finish this up. So I soldered up there, and I want to blow some of that solder out. Or sometimes you get some kind of flaking inside the pipes when you solder it without running nitrogen in it. Blah 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 blah. I've never had any problem with it, but I just blow it out. So this thing is finally done. But we'll talk about it later in the garage, and let me get back at it. And I just want to get home. I'm I'm hot. All right, I'll see you in a bit. All right, I'm putting this in toward the end of the video. It's interesting. I tried the Stay Brite, it didn't work, and that was on the very beginning of the video. So I'll have to put that all together, like I said before, and solder it all up. Hopefully, I'm done with it. I never had a problem. This is the culprit. This is the valve. God, I put so many bubbles down in here underneath here, and this is usually where it leaks. There's a service valve right here. You turn it on and turn the valve on and off, or you open it up or close it, and usually you'll get bubbles out of this thing. You'll squirt that bubbles down there and you'll see a big old bubble come out of there. It'll get a big bubble and pop, and then another bubble comes up. If you ever checked a tire for whether you had a nail in it and you running water or soap on it and you see how all the soap bubble, it just keeps bubbling up and fizzing. Not one fizz anywhere on this thing. I even checked the end where I soldered it to close it off so I could use the service valve. Nothing. So I don't know where this thing was leaking, but I'll be glad to cut it up and turn it in for scrap. God, like I said, most of the service valve I've had, they've shown signs of bubbling or whatever, and then you have to evacuate the whole system, remove the service valve, solder another one on, you know, vacuum it down, put the refrigerator you took out of it back in, and move on in life. This one really just threw me for a loop. And the only way I would have found that is like what I did. You know, I disconnected the condenser, trying to narrow down where the leak was coming from. Well, it wasn't the condenser. And in my mind, I was like, okay, the valve isn't leaking. The AC compressor is new. It's like, oh my God. Neither one of these should be leaking, and then I couldn't get my mind past it, so that's why I had to walk away from it for a while. Good thing my boss, when I talked to her about it, she says, just go back at it, Rick, get it done, and she was right. Sandy was right. So I just thought, okay, I'll put that T in there and pressurize it, and it's either going to be one or the other. I'm kind of glad it was the valve, because I don't know if you can take back those compressors. Once you have a compressor go bad on a new, and that was a good one, that would lasted about maybe a year. Once you replace those compressors, they won't. If that new compressor you put in there goes bad in 2 years, that you only get one compressor per unit. They won't give you another. As far as I know, won't give you another compressor, even though that might have a 10-year warranty. And that 10-year warranty is on that original compressor that comes with it. So you got a one-time shot, you get a new compressor, and hopefully that one lasts longer than the one that just went bad. So, good thing I guess it was the service valve, because I don't think I would have got another compressor, and without another compressor the whole unit is junk. And those things are, I don't know, probably around $2,000 to $2,400 bucks for a 2-ton AC. So. All right, I hope you learned your lesson. I guess like my license plate says, you just can't fix stupid. All right, I'll catch you later. Bye.